The polar bear, formerly known as Ursus maritimus. These behemoths are not only the largest of any bear, but they are also the largest land-based predator in the world. Standing over 10 feet tall, which is about this high, and weighing over 1,000 pounds, the title is well deserved. In the Arctic North, where they are the apex predator, they eat mostly seals, but will also hunt walruses or eat beached whales. In order to hunt, the polar bear waits by the breathing holes made by the seal, and then when the seal comes up to breathe, they will drag them out of the ice and eat them. When polar bears have babies, the mother polar bear is a very involved parent. She will raise the cubs for over 2 years. While this does increase the likelihood that the cubs survive, it means that the polar bear population grows very slowly and will follow a logistic growth curve. There are several subpopulations of polar bears used by scientists to keep track of the growth and decline of populations. These subpopulations are found in Greenland, Canada, and the Arctic North. That's pretty impressive. The polar bear is so good at what they do that many of the native Inuit cultures revere them as gods and even copy their hunting techniques to help them survive in the north. However, while the polar bear seems so majestic and invincible, they are now being forced to eat trash because of global warming. What was once the most dangerous land animal on the world has been reduced to nothing more than a pile of skin and bones because of a lack of ice to hunt and proper nutrition through the seals. If nothing is done to save the polar bears and reduce global warming, you might as well wave the polar bear goodbye.
For this animation, we're simulating the climate from 1850 to present and projections of how conditions could change in the future to look at one time of year, September. That's when the Arctic ice concentration is at its lowest. We use environmental and historical records of greenhouse gases and variations in the sun until 2005, when we start projecting future human behavior, how much greenhouse gases we will add to the atmosphere into the future. Beginning in 1850, for the first 100 years or so, the ice varies a bit from year to year, but the overall amount is quite stable. Then, around 1990, things start to change, and we start to see greater summer losses of the ice cover. By 2100, the Arctic in September is essentially ice-free in these simulations. We're not predicting the exact year at which this happens, but our simulation shows just how quickly summertime ice cover could disappear in the next 50 to 100 years.
Oh, polar bears. Look how cute and cuddly you are. When talking about polar bears, we normally just scratch the surface. Okay, they're cute and cuddly, and what else? Endangered. The fact is that the polar bear population has been depleting rapidly due to climate change. And who's causing that? Well, you can all point one big finger at yourselves. Oh, humans, imprinting gigantic carbon footprints all over Mother Nature. For thousands of years, polar bears have been flourishing and fulfilling their existential purpose in the Arctic food chain, feeding on seals. The loss of the polar bear would upset the balance of the Arctic's food chain so severely that more than a few species would go extinct from the overpopulation of their predators. The oldest known polar bear fossil shows that the polar bear is over 70,000 years old. Then humans came and upset the balance. Polar bears were being hunted for food, clothing, and rugs. And as if that wasn't enough, our carbon footprints have been rapidly depleting the polar bear population. Over the past 50 years, the polar bear population has suffered immensely due to climate change. 50 years ago, there were over 500,000 polar bears, and now biologists estimate that there's only 20 to 25,000 polar bears. About 60% of those live in Canada. Out of 19 subpopulation of polar bears, 8 are declining. 3 are stable, and 1 is increasing because since 1970, about 17% of the sea ice has been melted.
Although adult polar bears splay out their legs to distribute their weight over thin ice, Canute, has never stood squarely on all fours, which means he can't walk. He needs to build up his muscles, and Thomas is on hand to help. The rubber mat gives Canute the extra traction he needs, and his wonky legs start working. Once he gets the hang of it, there's no stopping him.
It's not too late to help these bears. There are many organizations working to help the polar bear's dwindling population. Many zoos and conservationists have been assisting the polar bear subpopulations, or raising cubs in captivity like was seen in the previous video. These bears will someday be released back into the wild. They have also put polar bears on the endangered species list to prevent people from hurting or harming the bears. Recently, large oil companies have agreed to sign a bill that would ensure oil rigs would not be built near known polar bear dens. If the polar bear den was not known of, as seen in the video behind me, the rigs evacuate until professionals can assess the situation. This, of course, is hard to monitor, but a very good step toward helping the polar bears. These are all important steps toward protecting the polar bears, but the only thing that will really change their plight is the return of the sea ice. The only way the sea ice will return is if we do our part to help stop climate change. Polar Bears International has compiled a list of steps you can take towards stopping climate change. There are many small things you can do, for example, turning off the lights or riding public transportation. But in order to really make a difference, we need to raise awareness in our communities and government. Vote for politicians who prioritize the environment. Support an activism group that spreads awareness for green living. Everybody can do their part to help the polar bears. To take immediate action, specifically related to polar bears, you can also donate to a number of different organizations. Make sure to choose one that tells you where your money is going.
Polar Bears International is a great way to donate directly to the polar bear cause. You can give by clicking on their donate button. They give you a variety of amounts to choose from. You can also figuratively adopt a polar bear. This is more expensive, but you get a care package and information card from adopting. World Wildlife Fund is another reliable resource to donate to polar bears. World Wildlife is the leading contributor in conservation donations. They are reputable and engaged, and they send you a stuffed animal in thanks. The WWF also tells you what exactly they are trying to change and how they are doing it.